Herzlich willkommen auf dem lösungsorientierten Vernetzungsportal Living Earth. Hier auf der Living Earth beleuchten wir jeden Monat ein bestimmtes Thema von den unterschiedlichsten Seiten, um dann das neu gewonnene Wissen, die praktischen Erfahrungen und Anwendungen in unserem Alltag und in unsere Projekte zu integrieren. So erschaffen wir gemeinsam, Schritt für Schritt, die neue lebendige Erde.
Hello everyone, welcome on the Living Earth. My name is Tatjana Strobel and today I have two amazing guests which give us an amazing method to overcome all our patterns and all the stuff we have inside and to heal. So welcome to Nicole Moore and to Ulrike. Hello, nice to see you here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, lovely to be here. Thank you.
So Nicole is from Australia and Ulrike is from Germany. And they are both preparing a big workshop, and we are talking today about the method and also about the workshop, how it went and who should attend and so on. So I'm so curious, Nicole, who are you? You know, what kind of gifts you present to the world?
That's such a big question, isn't it?
It is.
Let me see if I can fit myself into a suitable amount of time. So I'm here in Australia. I live here on the East Coast, and I just turned 50, like 2 days ago. So that's new. Yeah. I am a mother of two. I birthed both my children at home.
Oh, really?
Always embraced. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Always embraced a sort of natural health approach to life. And then particularly once becoming a mother, it was very clear that there wouldn't be any, at least not a heavy reliance on allopathic medicine. I can count on one hand how many times I had to take them to the doctor or the hospital. So that's a big part of my parenting journey. I've lived in community for the last 20 odd years, which has been also a very formative experience, getting to put into practice a lot of the ideals that, are one thing to kind of philosophize about or to desire, but then to put it into actual lived experience and practice where, you have almost no choice but to really meet your differences with people and find a way forward, even if you don't agree or if you're very different. So that's been a big part of my life. And I do this incredible work with the Birth-Into-Being method, where in the last 5 years, it's been bringing me overseas more and more. And I work in person, I work online, one-on-ones or in groups, working with the limbic imprint and creating new imprints for the nervous system to kind of adhere to. And it's very, very beautiful work that I'm very, very happy to share.
That's beautiful.
I think that's a little bit about me. Is that enough?
It's beautiful. So we can feel you a little bit. Thank you so much. And how you discovered this work, how it came to you.
Well, every now and then, I should say, I make films. But I used to make them more frequently before I had children. And then when I had my son, and it was such an incredible experience, I was very beautifully supported with a home birth midwife and the community supporting me so that I didn't have to do anything at all in my postpartum period. And it was just such a magical experience that I became quite I became enthusiastic about wanting to share that with everybody. And as a filmmaker and a communicator, I immediately started to see it in visuals. I hadn't filmed my own birth because I didn't want my cortex involved. But I immediately began to see, births unfolding in a visual landscape to be able to tell this story. I had also attended some births, so as a support person. So I started to imagine how this project could unfold. And I came across the film Birth as We Know It, and which is the film of Elena Tonetti-Vladimirova, the founder of Birth-Into-Being. And basically that film made me think, okay, I don't need to make the film I want to anymore. It's been done. Elena very eloquently outlines why conscious birth is so valuable, not just to the baby and the mother, but in fact to the entire human race. And so that was exactly the angle that I wanted to come from. And so that was done. Except then somebody reached out and asked who in the natural birth community of Australia, who would like to host Elena Tonetti-Vladimirova. So of course I said, yes, I'd love to meet her. But I was living in a very, and still do live in a very small rural area. So I don't know how we thought we were going to pull it off. And we didn't make the numbers in the end, but we did have a magical 3-day workshop. Myself and 2 other women brought that together, and I ended up having Elena as my guest on our community for over a week, and it kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Because now I am, sort of the guardian, if you like, of the Birth-Into-Being method. Elena is trying really hard to retire. And, the work itself was so powerful in my own healing journey, and then being able to give that to others. I never saw myself running groups or teaching in this way. I was pretty into making films, actually. But this kind of took over. And here we are.
That's beautiful. Oh my God, I'm so curious what the items are. But before, I would like to introduce Ulrike. Ulrike, nice to have you here. Maybe you also want to tell us a little bit more about you and how you discovered this beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you for inviting. Yeah. Let's say the most important thing in my life is that I am a mother of 3. And when my first child was still very small, like 1 year old, I discovered this internet forum that completely changed everything for me. It was like a few hundred people exchanging about a book called The Continuum Concept by Jean Lietloff. And this made me question about everything, about children, about how we relate to children, how people relate to each other in general, school, like everything. everything. And one day on that forum, somebody mentioned Birth-Into-Being, and it immediately got me. And I was like, I have to look this up. I opened the website, and I have been circling around that for a while, like 2 years. Then there was a workshop scheduled in Amsterdam, and I'm like, no matter what, I'm going. That was in 2013, so a while ago. And I have done many workshops, and now I am an apprentice of the method, and next year I'm planning to do the facilitator training.
Oh, wow.
And I would really, really like to make this method more well known, and I would love to see many more workshops happening in Europe and other parts of the world. But I think for me, is Europe is big enough for me.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Ulrike. You are also the host for the European journey when Nicole comes to Europe. So this is why you are here. And yeah, you are so enthusiastic. You told me about this, and it was so enthusiastic that I thought, oh, okay, let's do it. You know, I'm not used to do interviews in English, and I'm so sorry if I'm not perfect. But it was so important for me to do this interview, to bring the method to Europe, to bring it to you, that you can see there are so many different and amazing things that you can heal yourself, and that you can be a better parent or a better person. And now we go a little bit deeper into the stuff. Nicole, what is birth into being? What are the main pillars, let's say?
Well, the number one pillar is that it's never too late. It's never too late to create the kind of imprints that would serve who and what it is that you are aspiring to in your life. So, never too late to create a change, never too late to, meet the love of your life, never too late to attain happiness. And the method that we use to uphold that belief system, or to make that true for people, is by looking at the very earliest imprints of life. So from your conception throughout your gestation, and with birth being a really pivotal experience as well. The first time that you meet the world with all of your senses, no barriers between you and the world, and how that experience is for you, whether it's joyous or stressful, we believe creates a powerful imprint about how to respond to life in general. And yeah, so whatever in the marketing world, we're told very clearly that we should niche, right? We should only speak to one particular problem for your solution. But the thing is that with Birth into Being, that doesn't really work, because we were all born, and whatever problems that present in life, a lot of the times you can kind of like go back, and look at where this pattern of relating, or where this way of perceiving and understanding the world began. And very often it's in those earliest phases of life. So when people are, open to looking at that, it creates like a new lens for seeing the world. And, I personally find it really helpful to understand why some of my repetitive behaviors come into play. And it makes the journey a little more gentle when it does happen, so it's not like this awareness changes everything and you never act out one of your patterns again. But when you do, you might recognize it sooner, be more compassionate with yourself about it. So no, self-flagellation, no shame around your repeated response to something, but instead more understanding and compassion for yourself, which basically alleviates the little knot or the little drama, whatever it is that is unfolding. When you can actually love yourself through it, it changes everything. So what do you think about that, Ulrike, with with your experiences, both as a participant in workshops, and then also being with other people in groups in an assistant role, and how does that play for you?
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I did a workshop, it was a 2-day workshop with Elena, and I was completely blown away by like how quickly we jumped into the deepest depths of like things that people bring with them, and about the level of transformation that I saw happening. then I went back to do more workshops, longer workshops, to work more on my personal issues. And it was mostly Birth into Being that helped me, that the thing that was the worst thing, like for such a long time, like decades, for me, was feeling alone and abandoned, like and like every possible variation of the theme, like I'm so alone, I don't even have any friends, or I don't need anyone, I can do it by myself, or what not. And Birth into Being really helped me to come to a point where, yes, sometimes this is still triggered, like this feeling is still triggered, but I immediately recognize it. I no longer think that it has anything to do with the person in front of me. And then I can just simply say, hey, you know what? I need a break from this conversation. And can we talk again later? And yeah. And yeah, it really made me, like, the difference that it made, the biggest thing is that when I have worked on an issue with the Birth into Being process, then after that, I can feel that I have a choice. I mean, we know that in theory, we have a choice not to repeat the old pattern or create something new, but in real life, how easy is that? Like, not at all. And Birth into Being creates like this new, like it makes this new connection to a more positive, like to something positive, and then I can feel that I have a choice, and then yes, I can do it.
That sounds really amazing. You know, first of all, thank you both. Nicole, the first sentence you said, this was creating me a goosebump. You said it's never too late. And I think this is one of the most important sentences in our life. You know, it doesn't care if you are 50, if you're 60, 70, 80, 90, if you're 20, it doesn't care. There's always the right moment to start again, you know, to reboot again, to change something. And I think this is such a wonderful message, and it's so important and in this moment I have the feeling it's so important that we go on our healing process, because otherwise we don't get the peace on earth. You know, everyone wants to have peace on earth, but it doesn't work if we don't work on ourselves. This is the most important thing. You know, I have to have peace in myself. I have to peace with me. I have to love myself completely, you know, accept myself, be very polite, friendly, lovely to myself. And this is the beginning of peace on earth. So this work is so important, this healing work. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more how how do people in your workshops realize their pattern, how they find out what's going on, what's the repetition which is going on and on and on, what's the drama, what causes the drama, how you do these steps that the people realize there is something.
Well, usually they've already realized, and that's why they're there at the workshop to begin with, is because they're in some way sick of themselves, you know, like bored with a particular pattern, you know. Yeah, you know, there's something about the languaging that we're using as well. You know, when we talk about healing patterns and things like that, it brings people who have already identified that inside themselves. So that's good, because then we're not at step one, you know, we're a little bit further along, where people go, okay, like I've got this thing that I want to work on. Very often it's people who have tried many other things and found that nothing really shifted this kind of core belief system that they have that feeds into their decisions. And whether that's like, you know, choosing partners that don't necessarily, serve you. That's one area where people can see very clearly their patterns, because they might attract the same kind of partner who like looks and sounds very different than the last one, but a couple of years in, same thing, is happening there. So sometimes it's in work relationships or things like that. At some point people realize that there is a common denominator in all of these situations, and that's usually them. So when they kind of go, okay, if you buy into the story, it looks different every time and it's all completely justifiable, and there's good reasons for all of it that we can understand with our intellect. When you step right back and you kind of allow yourself to just feel the repetition of a certain pattern, and then feel the place that it comes from, this is when people tend to start to realize that it comes from very early life. A sense of being unworthy, unwelcome, not good enough. I can't tell you how many women I've worked with who were meant to be boys, which is unbelievable in this day and age, but it's true. All the different ways that people feel less than in their life, and they can trace it back to those early periods. And the truth of it is that not all of us were welcome conceptions. Not every child that is conceived was truly wanted. Sometimes it's a oops, and not to say that is an unloved child, not necessarily. Many parents rise to the challenge, but that initial imprint is one of not being truly welcomed. Sometimes you have families where there's 10, 11 children. By the time you get down to those numbers, you can pretty much imagine that the pregnancy wasn't met with great joy. It may have been mediocre response at best by the time, you get into those big numbers, because the mothers were exhausted. And so, we look at those imprints of early life, no matter what is presenting in the outside world, whether it's, a struggle to get your artwork out, it's a struggle to write that book, it's a struggle to be visible in the way that you need to be to get your work out into the world, whether it's a midwife or a birth worker that is struggling to stand up and speak her truth about what she believes in her work environments. Pregnant women who are making their birth choices and sometimes have, centuries of patriarchy to kind of, stand up to. And sometimes it's, the church or any of the conservative beliefs in their family of origin that they have to stand up to. Many, many different things that can present, that can really benefit from having that perspective of how influential your birth imprints are. And when I say birth imprints, I mean the whole period: conception, gestation, birth, and early postpartum. Yeah. Sorry, I can't remember what the original question was, but I hope I answered it.
It was a beautiful answer. Thank you so much. Now, you said at the beginning that that your clients tried a lot, so before they came to you. So what is the transformational process, why it's so successful? Because they made a lot before, they had some therapies. And so what is special on it? Is it the process that you work together, or what is the process that you are successful and you heal with this kind of method?
Yeah, so there's a few different things. I mean, I definitely am a strong admirer and advocate for group work. I think that there is something very mammalian, about being with another person in direct eye contact, with your breath, working together. You know, there's a way that you can sense and feel one another, and offer that experience of resonance that is directly from one nervous system to another. You know, and that is extremely powerful and can't be underestimated. Then there's a few different things, but without giving away all our secrets, I would like to say that one of the big things that works very powerfully in a Birth Into Being in-person session is the multisensory approach. So we are working with sound, breath, touch, and visualization. So, you know, there's a whole lot of different things going on, and that might happen in different ways throughout different processes. But working from a multisensory approach, I believe, brings the information into our being in a way that just means it has multiple touch points. It's multiple opportunities for absorption. And when that absorption is synchronistic and it's all happening at the same time, you know, like there's like loving touch that is, you know, moving over your body at the same time as sound is kind of massaging your brain and making it impossible for your cortex to take control like they always do. You know, and then you've got big, deep breaths happening, which, as we know, is really working on our nervous system, and our somatic responses to things when we're involving our breath like that. And it just, you know, for me, it's like a language. It's a multisensory language, and it speaks to the human organism in such a way where it just goes deep.
Oh, wow, it sounds so beautiful. Maybe Ulrike, you can tell us a little bit more about your experience, how it was, this multi-sensual experience, and what kind of how do you say, what kind of changes you made after these workshops?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely totally true that this multisensory approach is really bringing profound change. And I have seen that in myself and also in other people. I mean, with the really big, deep issues, maybe it's too much to expect that you do one process in one workshop and then everything is different. Maybe that is a little bit too much to expect. But there can be profound shifts. And on some issues, I have done like several processes, and it was getting me a little bit further every time. And like in general, I can say that there's a lot less drama in my life. Like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like I used to have really big fights with my partner. We're both like have a bit of a fiery temperament. And yeah. And looking at my younger self with what I know now, I can see that my contribution to creating drama was substantial, which was not obvious to me at the time. And yeah, that for sure is not happening to me anymore. Like, hasn't happened in many, many years. Like, I always catch myself early. No, I'm like, okay, wait, this is the path I didn't want to go anymore. Wait. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I have another question, Nicole. What is your personal, how do you say, explanation for birth into being? What is the meaning of birth into being? You know, for you personally, what does this mean?
So to me, it speaks to the evolution of consciousness that any kind of voluntary healing work is. when somebody goes into an experience that coincidentally is healing, well, that's great. But sometimes people are, very consciously going into a workshop or a situation, a session where they're very consciously choosing to learn something that they are hoping will help with a particular thing. And so to me, that speaks of the evolution of consciousness, and birth into being is like that. It's when you birth, when you bring something into being, you make a choice, you do things towards it, you are proactive, and, so it speaks to that for me. And then there is also the fact that this work has its roots in the conscious birth world. And, in the early days of that movement, it was very much around people, taking leadership and taking ownership of their own experience. And it still is today. If people choose to birth within the medical system, it's quite hard for them to retain ownership over the experience. And so, birth into being is you choosing what you wish to birth, how you wish to birth, what parts of yourself you are activating, either to bring that baby out, to finish writing that book, to start that new business, to do that TED talk, make that podcast, whatever it may be. You are birthing something into being.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. So it seems that, this workshop is nearly for everyone who wants to rebirth him or herself. So to get a new understanding, to bring the light, to shine to everything. So now you are coming to Europe. Can you tell us more where you're going and what kind of possibilities there are to attend on a workshop with you?
I haven't actually been to the new venue as yet, but Ulrike has. So Ulrike could tell us about Torre Superiore. All I know is that it's in Italy, close to the border with Nice. It's supposed to be very beautiful, and it's an old village that's been restored. And Ulrike knows the rest.
Yeah, actually there are two events, right? So the first is the Global Eco Village Gathering in Sweden in the middle of August, 20 to 25, I think. And where there will be many speakers and many workshops, and one will be Nicole with Birth-Into-Being. I have also lived in community for 20 years, so I'm very connected to the European eco-village movement and communities movement. And the workshop in Italy from the 3rd to the 6th of September is in a small community eco-village, Torre Superiore in Liguria, near the Mediterranean Sea, in a medieval village that the eco-villagers have carefully restored. Very beautiful, very, a lot of old stones, like you can feel the, you get transported into different, something different. It's an amazing, beautiful place, and it's actually amazing food, obviously. Very nice and friendly, accommodating community.
So you live together these 6 days? You stay together there?
Yeah. Yes, it's a residential workshop.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
The work that we do is quite profound and deep, and so it's really nice when people can completely disconnect from the outside world, where they don't have to, catch a train or a bus or an Uber. They don't have to go home and deal with the family. It's just a completely sort of enclosed environment where That they might go for a walk after dinner or do something like that, but it's going to be low key. It may be with other people that have been involved with the same processes during the day, and hopefully they're going to get plenty of rest as well, which is also a very valuable integration tool. When you're kind of stirring up all these old emotions and feelings, and also working with the brain, creating new imprints, it's really good to get as much sleep as possible. So having the retreat be residential means we have a bubble.
Sounds very interesting. And how about the language? Is it in English? Is there a possibility for translation in German?
Do you want to answer that, Ulrike?
The workshop is in English, and then there will be times where we work in small groups. We split up to do some of the processes, and if there are enough German speakers or Italian speakers, then one of those groups could be in a different language.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we will put all the informations under the video. So if you are interested to go to Italy, so you can connect with Ulrike and also Nicole. And yeah, so I'm so curious, if I had time, I would love to join. So because I love this kind of work, to discover myself. So I think this is the most important and also adventurous journey, to find out who you really are. And it looks and it sounds like this birth into being is a journey to yourself. And thank you so much that you introduced us to this wonderful method. And I hope I see you soon. And maybe we can do something together. We plan some festivals in the future, and also international festivals. And I would love to see you there, Nicole. And Ulrike, it's always such a pleasure to meet you. And thank you so much. It was wonderful. Maybe you want to close with a last sentence, why this work is so important for everyone?
I would just say that, our world is really calling for us to bring forward the best of ourselves, to be able to meet each other and work together with as much harmony as is possible. We have some really big jobs ahead of us in terms of kind of course correction for the human race and for the planet. And, we have a lot of things that we need to do together. And so getting our own personal baggage out of the way so that we can work together with ease is a really high priority for me, because, because it's very supportive. The work that we're doing with Birth into Being is very supportive of being able to work together as a team to, like I say, course correct, to clean up some of the damage that's already been done to the earth, and of course to bring in our young in a way that supports our healthy evolution.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. We always say, let's bring us home, because our real home is where our heart is, and how we are truly deep. We are geniuses, we are wonderful, we are lovable, we are amazing. Thank you for this amazing work you're doing. Thank you, Ulrike, that you introduced this work to us. And I wish you an amazing time in Europe. Wonderful people who join the workshops and who heal themselves. Thank you so much. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Auf der Living Earth teilen wir viele Lösungen wie diese, um gemeinsam eine neue, lebendige Erde zu gestalten. Schaue dir jetzt gleich das Video auf der Startseite an und finde heraus, was für andere wundervolle Dinge die Living Earth noch kann. Jeder Pionier ist wertvoll. Falls du also noch kein Pionier bist, komm, wir freuen uns auf dich.